100,000. And in 2021, Cancer Association of South Africa launched an awareness campaign with the Colorectal Society and to start awareness, especially that during COVID there was a delay in screening and treatment, and they started some hashtags. And the main purpose was to try to get some national cancer policy, making sure that it's guided to population-based screening, and our preeminent Dr. Buttel emphasized early diagnosis to try to improve survival and increase awareness and education. And last year they released some more inflammatory information about colorectal cancer, emphasizing family history, early detection, and if you have a colonoscopy, you should have it by a trained person, symptomatic patients, but also patients over the age of 50. And then, I don't know if anybody knew, they pushed fecal occult blood, so you could do it for 100 rand, and if it's positive, try to get a referral, so you can have a colonoscopy. They devised this kind of information. It was the top 3 cancers in men and women in South Africa. Emphasizing that early detection is a key, lifestyle, and genetic factors. And some interesting other information that it's the second most common cancer in men in South Africa and third most in women. And according to the National Cancer Registry, which I looked into, estimated lifetime risk for men was 1 in 77 and 1 in 132 in females. But this registry openly says they are outdated and they underreporting, especially that they only register histologically confirmed cancers. So screening for colorectal cancer is a test performed on a person with no symptoms or no personal history of colon polyps or cancer. So what tests can be done for screening? So it can be split into 2 forms in terms of stool-based testing and direct visualization. There is evidence that this can reduce the incidence and mortality in both forms. Most of the evidence for colonoscopy is actually in the flexible simuloscopy groups, and with no real reduction for the stool-based test for overall mortality, but there is some evidence for flexible simuloscopy. As for every test, there can be pros and cons. So just focusing on FIT test, it has an overall sensitivity of 79%. But if you test positive, you need a colonoscopy anyway. It's not low sensitivity when it comes to advanced adenomas and does not detect serrated lesions. Colonoscopy is important to have 100% detection of colorectal cancer, but there is a proportion of patients who have a colonoscopy, they can have post-colonoscopy colorectal cancer. And there is a complication risk. So if you want to simplify things down, in some instances the best screening can be considered one that is acceptable to the patient and gets completed. I think that's sometimes a very important aspect of this topic. If you look at all of them combined, a lot of them are much of a muchness, and if you really want to deep down and change your perspective, then you can try to weed out what is better than the other. There's lots of ongoing RCTs happening, and I'm sure everybody in the GI world was aware of the hullabaloo around the NHM article. So CNN published some stuff, overestimated the value of colonoscopy, and then everybody else had an opinion on what to do. Even Lancet, Castro had to release something pointing out meager benefits, disappointing, more negative terminology, and the total world was abuzz with this discussion. From 2017, the guidelines changed a lot for about 2 years. So let's just run through some of that. So at that point, the US Multi-Society Task Force recommended average risk patient about 50, African-American about 45, and they had a tiered system in terms of what tests you could do. Colonoscopy and FIT as a tier 1, but the patients had a lot of choice in terms of what they could do, when they could do it. In 2018, the American Cancer Association changed their guidelines. Was start of routine screening at age 45. Patient in good health with life expectancy within 10 years, screening through the age of 75. individualize it between 76 and 85, and then discontinue or encourage individuals over 85. And then they just listed recommended without having really a preferred method. This was the actual change to 45 was based on the SEER data. So the incidence and deaths of colorectal cancer has been trending down over years, as you can see in the graph. The only group that was trending up was in this group between the age of 20 to 41. If you look at the more latest SEER data, this trend is still ongoing, and that's why that age drop was implemented. Again, earlier this month, CNN again put out some report showing that the incidence of colon cancer under 55 increased proportionally from 11% in 1995 to almost 20% in 2019. This was based on the American Cancer Association document, and this was based on the colorectal cancer stats for 2023. Why is this happening? Nobody really understands, but what they've noticed is that every birth cohort after 1940, the incidence of colorectal cancer has been going up year on year. So the latest guidelines that has come out is the American College of Gastroenterology 2021 guideline. So the age is average age, patients from the age of 45, continue screening until 75, you individualize above 75, and you stop all screening above 85. They also make clear recommendations in terms of the primary modalities, which is either FIT test or colonoscopy, and they list a few other modalities that you can use. They also made it clear on family history. This is one of the big changes, is that either you have one first-degree relative or two second-degree relatives of any age, you start screening 10 years before the youngest person diagnosed with cancer, or at the age of 40, and then you do it every 5 years. One first-degree relative over 60, you start at age 40, and then you use average risk screening recommendations. One second-degree relative, you use the average risk screening recommendations. They also put in their guideline some criteria for the endoscopist. So all endoscopists should measure the second intubation rate, which should be at least 95%, and the anomaly detection rate not below 25%, and a withdrawal time of at least 6 minutes. And they also make a recommendation there that if your ADR falls below 25%, you have to go for further training. But all these extra tests, what does it do? So it does give extra additional life years. It does pick up more cancers, but it comes at the risk of more harm. So especially in the colonoscopy group. And then of course we more tests because you lower the age from 50 to 45. Just looking at some South African data, let's zoom in on the ages between 30 to 79. So if you look at it in the consensus of 2016, it was between the age of 40 to 44, there was 3.2 million people, and between the age of 35 to 39, it was 3.8 million. Those people in the 40 to 44 group is now over 45, and many of the patients or people in the 35 to 39 group are now reaching that age to start screening. If you look at the South African Cancer Registry, which acknowledges that they are probably underestimating the burden of disease, is not an insignificant amount of cancers occurring between the ages of 40 to 49. I'll move on to, so what do you do if you find a polyp? So this is the US Multi-Society Task Force guidelines. This kind of document is nice to laminate and put on your walls as a reminder. So the biggest change was in that small polyps. So 1 to 2 was 7 to 10 years, 3 to 4 is now 3 to 5 years. And the advanced adenomas is all 3 years except your piecemeal are greater than 20 millimeters. What was also new is they had the recommendation now based on your first endoscopy and your polyps, how much polyps you had, and if you find anything on your second endoscopy. So that category of 3 to 4 tuberculinomas of less than 10 millimeters, which you normally recommend to patients to have a scope within 3 to 5 years screening colonoscopy. If it was normal, then it's 10 years. If you wanted to, 7 to 10, etc. They also became slightly less, more conservative when it came to serrated polyps. So they extended some of those recommendations. They combined, this slide combined everything, but I just want to highlight, they also included high quality colonoscopy, which means complete to cecum, adequate bowel prep to see polyps of more than 5 millimeters, good adenoma detection rate, and complete polyp resection. We know that polypectomy reduces colorectal cancer deaths, so 53% reduction in colorectal cancer mortality. ESGE has made key performance areas which include your PrEP, your cecum intubation rate, your adenoma detection rate, and appropriate polypectomy. So studies were done and showed that if you increase your adenoma detection rate by 1%, you can equal to 3% reduction in interval cancer risk. So this ADR, if you increase your ADR over time, you can decrease your incidence rate. If you had a poor or low adenoma detection rate, if you improve it to the list, you can have the biggest reduction in the amount of cancers that occurs. And if you remain good, you keep your cancer rate low post-colonoscopy. In Poland, they also looked at a service. They go into a service, they look at what happens, they look at the adenoma detection rate. In one group, they gave feedback alone and feedback and training. And as you clearly can see, the feedback and training group, adenoma detection rate improved far superior than just feedback alone. Just looking at JAG, a joint advisory group from the UK, they define standards in clinical practice. They do quality assurance, they do some accreditation. Although they're UK-based team, they have a footprint across the world, including South Africa, so some of our faculty here was involved in going to the UK for upskilling and then having a trainers course over there in South Africa. And with JAG, to get certification to do screening colonoscopies, you need a cecal intubation rate of more than 90%. I've done over 200 colonoscopies and I've completed some DOPS. Then to meet the full criteria, you must have done another 100 scopes at least, a total over 300 and a certain amount of DOPS. JAG is not the only one who sets criteria in terms of what is required to join to become a screening colonoscopist. So if you look at the Dutch program, as accreditation, you have to do at least 500 lifetime with at least 50 polypectomies, and to have continue to do so, you do an audit criterion, which is at least another 200 per year, and about 50 polypectomies per year. They also include withdrawal time. Some more criteria, they also do adenoma detection rate, and for audit purposes, they push up their adenoma detection rate up to 30%. They also put criteria in terms of polyps removed, but also polyps retrieved. So no point in taking off, you need to get the histology for it. So in summary, screening is important. What type, for what system, they can be debated, I think, for days. Now the Americans have clear start and stop age criterion. They've also expanded family history. But to do a good screening program, we probably need good colonoscopy, and that involves training, auditing in terms of ADR. I think data is very important because the only way forward for us is to have good data to try to plan and evaluate. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon all. Right, so my brief was dyspepsia. We're going to talk about functional dyspepsia.
No offense.
Eh?
No offense.